Today we have a very important topic to talk about today, and it's a topic that I don't think is talked about enough. And the topic is kind of going over depression, bullying, self-insecurities, and just kind of topics that are very internal to oneself. And I just think it don't get enough play. There are so many people within the fitness industry that are very insecure about themselves. They constantly are looking at themselves and thinking they're fat when they have ripped six-pack abs. And I completely understand because I go through it myself personally as well. And it's kind of what made me want to do this video, is because I was struggling through it, and I was started going into my cut, and immediately when I went into my cut, I started looking flat. It just pretty much makes it look like all your progress from the bulk just went out the window. Now it looks like you're carrying even more fat than you've ever carried. You look kind of like the worst physique that you've had in a long time. And so during those periods of time, it can be really hard. And then on top of that, when you go into a cut, especially if you go into a deep deficit, you can definitely get psychological effects where you hear a lot of negative things in your own head, and you just so many negative emotions going through you. And it's because you're going into a starvation mode, and you're transitioning from being in a bulk for such a long period of time to not being in a caloric deficit. Your body doesn't really know how to deal with it sometimes, especially if that's something you have not done a lot of times throughout your life. Now your body will adapt as you've done cuts and bulks and cuts and bulks. And like I said, this diet here has been a lot better than my first one that I really did. It's been a lot faster, I've seen a lot better progress, and I feel a lot better physically. But I did still have a lot of emotional stuff to go through. And being that I do YouTube here, I put myself out on the internet, and there's people who basically want to try to talk crap and bash people, and just a lot of people, it's just a way of making themselves feel better. A lot of times it's a way for other people who have their own brand or their own fitness plans and stuff like that. They'll try to get on other people's profiles and downgrade them, so that way they look like a professional and they're super educated, and basically they're just tearing down somebody else's tower so that theirs looks bigger. And that's a way of success, but I don't think it's the right way of success. I believe highly in the Gary Vaynerchuk's method that the truth always wins. And so I kind of just want to be here with you guys today and speak the truth with y'all. I first want to talk about how people that are physically in shape, why they would feel even more insecure about themselves than somebody who's 300 pounds and just morbidly obese. And the reason why is because as fitness people, you put yourself on a pedestal, not only to other people but to yourself. You hold yourself to a very, very high standard of a physique, and the more physically athletic you look, the more pressure you're going to be putting on yourself to look like that, and to look like that as much as possible, or else you wouldn't have done it in the first place. You would have never got there if you didn't put yourself under those pressures. So at any point in time, whenever you're reverting from one of your goals, or you're seeing things that make yourself look not as good today as they did the day before, then it can tear you apart. Especially when you're putting months and years into this thing and just really dedicating hella time and making all kinds of sacrifices to be able to make it to the gym and do all that it takes. It can get so difficult to just see any type of degradation at all. And so I think that's why a lot of people who are still fit will go through this struggle so much. It's with me, I feel like I literally flattened out to before I even bulked, and that's just a major thing that crushed me internally. And some of it is literally just psychological. Some of it's physical, and you physically did change. But there is some of it that's mental, you actually do look way better than you did last year, but your mind's playing tricks on you, and in your own head you don't feel that way. You feel just like you look disgusting, and you might as well just quit working out, and all kinds of stuff like that. That really brings me to probably the main target for this video. And although I think it is very, very important that other fitness people see this video, because there's so many of them out there that are contemplating suicide and all that just because they lost their abs, or just all kinds of things, or debating doing steroids, or started doing steroids just to keep up with people, and just making decisions based on their negative feelings inside. So I think it's really important that all people see this video, but I really want to focus on people who really just started getting into dieting and really just started getting into fitness, and kind of get them over that hurdle of quitting, because it's so easy to quit at first. I can't recall what the statistic is, but you have to do something like 30 times or something like that before it's like ingrained into you as a routine. And even if you have ingrained it as a routine, there's still a very high likelihood that at some point in time that you will relapse on that routine. So now, one of the things that I did to make sure that I did not quit fitness, and I think it's the most important thing to do before you even start fitness, and that's to make fitness a must. Anything that you want to stick with, you have to make it a must, and essentially prioritize it higher than anything else. Almost nothing else comes above fitness, and if you let things start coming above it, then guess what? You'll keep pushing off doing fitness, and you'll come to your end of your day and you'll be like, oh, tomorrow, and then it'll come to your next day and you'll be like, oh, it's okay, and then it'll be 2 days, and then it'll be 3 days, and then it'll be 4 days, and next thing you know, you're like, why bother even going back? I'm not going to be able to stay consistent with it. What's the whole point of even trying if I'm just going to give up over and over again? So it's very important that you're making this thing a must. Now, the other thing that I really, really want to target is not just making it a must, because you have to do that, but I want to, for those who have made it a must, for those of you who have already started and you're just not seeing the progress that you want to see, or you expect to see a lot of progress fast, this is where trusting the process comes in. And that's one of the things that I comment on people's photos and on their comments on like Facebook and YouTube. I just post trust the process, because like really with fitness it's such a big deal. Like muscle growth is so slow, fat loss is slow, and on top of that, with having psychological issues, if you don't just trust the process, then you're gonna let yourself break down. You have to kind of ignore everything. You have to ignore the scale. Like, people will give me crap because I'll say ignore your scale weight, ignore it. And that's because you don't want to go through the mental breakdown of like being so worried about that. And then I have other people bashing me that I say weigh yourself all the time. Well, how can I say weigh yourself all the time and then ignore the scale weight? I literally get on the scale like 3 times a day, but I just look at the number. I'm like, oh, okay, on to the next thing. And I actually have came out with a really good method to being able to step on the scale every day if you're one of those people who can't physically look at it and make it through your day. And that is to buy yourself a smart scale. Buy a smart scale that can link up with your phone and automatically tracks all your weigh-ins. So that way you can literally step on the scale, look at the wall, don't even look at the number down on the scale at all, and then just let that app track the data for you. And it'll give you like a weekly email saying here's what your average weight was, and you can look at like maybe that weekly email, or just go into your app and look at the data of how your weight's trending, and just do things where you're staying on target, and just trust the process, because it is so important to not look at that scale weight and to just get let down. It's so important to not look in the mirror and make yourself let down. If you can't stand in front of the mirror and tell yourself positive things, then stop stepping in the mirror. If you can't step on the scale, then stop stepping on the scale. I do highly promote that you do some type of documentation so that you don't have to necessarily look at it. Like, maybe let's do something like, if you can't look in the mirror because it's just so hard on you, how about you set a timer on your phone or camera to take a photo in 10 seconds, post it up, take your shirt off, whatever, take your clothes off, however you want to go about doing it, and just stand there and let it take a photo. Do it like 3 or 4 times, get you some photos, and just don't even look at them. Don't even look at those photos. Just put them in a folder and ignore them. And just keep doing that week after week. And take a weekly photo like that, or take weekly photos like that, and keep documenting what week it was from, and just keep on keeping on. And then when you get 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line, whenever you feel confident and feel comfortable with looking at it, pull out that first photo that you took compared to the 5th photo that you had, and just document that process, because that will help you with trusting the process. There's a lot of times where people will get fit and in shape, and like somebody would be like 200 something pounds. Say for instance a female gets she's like 200 something pounds, and she gets down to like 130, 120, 110, and she still feels fat, and then may even go into like anorexia or something like that, because she still feels fat and still sees that fat person that she used to be. And it's such a horrible thing for people to go through, and I don't want anybody to have to go through that type of thing. I don't want anybody to have to feel discouraged and get bullied, and just especially doing it to yourself. Like, that's the main thing. It's just like, don't do it to yourself. Just keep yourself in a positive mindset, trust the process. You know, check your numbers ever so often so that way you know that you are progressing. And if you aren't, then just adjust. Don't give up. Just adjust. You haven't tried that much. If you're just now starting out, you have not tried that much. There's, you know, hundreds of different diets. There's hundreds of different eating schemes. There's so many types of ways to manipulate the diet and exercise to find something to work for you. It will work at some extent unless you have some weird disorder, genetic something that just jacks you up completely, where you just can't build any muscle or you just can't lose any fat whatsoever. But that is a very, very, very small percentage of the population, like 0.001% or some crazy stuff. So I just suggest you guys to keep your head up and trust the process. Just trust the process. So this brings me to kind of my last thing, and that's the whole like the bullying thing. And, you know, I don't mind people necessarily saying negative stuff. So when it comes to like bullying and whatnot, you know, I put myself out there on the internet and I expect people to say things to me because the internet's just rude. People are just rude in general. And there's a lot of people out there who are just haters. Now, I personally don't mind if somebody gets on my channel and like they want to critique me, have some type of thing that may be considered negative. Like, I don't mind that whatsoever. But one thing that I will almost always see when somebody has a negative comment, it's very condescending, and it's like, dude, you're a freaking idiot, you don't know nothing about anything, and why are you even doing this? You should quit. Like, any time somebody's giving you advice, just like vague-ass advice, like, oh, you're doing everything wrong. Like, and then on top of that, whenever you question, like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Oh, I don't have time to go through all your content to see what you're doing wrong. You know, I've had multiple people get on my channel and try to say stuff like that. And, you know, I basically just call them out and say, just show me, prove it to me. I'm willing to listen to what you got to say. And, you know, they almost never have anything specifically that they can say. It's all just vague stuff like you don't know anything. You can just see the pure hater in them and how they're purely just hating, because if they truly thought you were that bad, they truly thought you were that bad of an influencer and that bad at whatever you're doing, then they should be able to prove it very easily, especially if you don't know anything. If you don't know anything, then they should be able to instantaneously click on any video, any comment, and it be wrong. So, you know, you just really can't care what anybody else has to say about your progress and where you're going with things, because, like, even a lot of people in your own family may just be like, oh, you're kind of making progress, especially if, like, you have a significant other, maybe, like, you know, they're seeing you every day and they don't really see the progress. Kind of like you may not see your own progress, and you just don't want any external factor just getting you down. If somebody gets on your stuff and makes a comment like, oh, you're fat, or oh, why do you even work out? You don't even look like you lift. Like, there's people that have been working out like 10 years and they're like my same size. At one point in time, I kind of looked at people and was like, how have they been working out this long and then entered that size? And as I've kind of went through my journey, I've learned a lot. And one of the main things that I've learned is that we all go through stuff. We all go through life, and life is not always easy on us and can at times be very, very difficult. And sometimes when life gets like that, you know, fitness is not the number one priority. Sometimes fitness takes a back burner and just becomes no longer a must. And in certain circumstances, and for short periods of time, I think it's okay. Like, if you have to take off from fitness for a week or two and just make that commitment to yourself that you'll get back on, then do it if you have to get through whatever struggle and hurdle you're having in life. I didn't ever really completely quit and just say, oh, I'm not going to go for a few weeks, but I definitely had weeks and months this past year of just, like, literally just going through the motions, like going through and putting 20 pounds on and just, like, bench pressing something out on a machine and just doing like 50 reps just because, like, all I could do is go through the motion and do sets and volume. I just could not push through any type of intensity, like maybe some burning through those high repetition sets, but overall just like no like desire to even be at the gym or anything like that. Just going through the process because I wanted to still make progress. I'm going to be doing a video. It's probably going to be like a few months, maybe like 6 months from now. That's going to be kind of driven towards... It's going to be like right after my summer shredding series, whenever I'm going to be super lean, super shredded. And I'm kind of going to go over what has happened to me then over this course of this past year, because it's been a pretty significant year as far as major hurdles in life and things coming at me that I had to deal with that were very difficult, and that's something I don't really want to talk about right now. I was going to kind of do it in the beginning of this video, but I'm just going to save that for then, because I'm going to make that video kind of a motivational video. It's going to be a video kind of like this one, I think, but I think I'm going to put even more effort into that video and even more resources, even more heart into it, and just make sure that that video is the best that it can be. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so that way you can get notified whenever we post that video. We're also doing all kinds of content for summer shredding, for the Christian Guzman competition that they're having in Houston. We're also doing the online competition, both me and my fiance, and we're also doing the poverty meal prep, which as of right now we're still going to be doing poverty meal prep. Let me know in the comments below if poverty meal prep is a big deal for you, because we're thinking about cutting it just because it's a very difficult video to keep up with. It's just the planning, the preparation, just all the aspects of it. It takes a lot more effort than what we really have. I'd much rather do videos like this for you guys where they're not as taxing on me and the family. And they're a little bit more easy for me to just talk to you guys and be able to convey my thoughts, feelings, and just give y'all overall good general fitness advice and just advice in life. I just feel like that's something that's kind of been lacking in the fitness industry anymore. Like, so many people are just vlogging things up, and I really love doing these sit-down videos. And I really love watching these sit-down videos of other people who just talk about, you know, just different topics, whether it be fitness, whether it be how to grow muscle, lose fat, talking about psychological things, just all kinds of just sit-down, like podcast style content. I love that type of content, and I love doing that type of content. To me, there's nothing better than just getting down to the grassroots of everything and just talking to you guys. There's so much information. It's so valuable. It's not necessarily as entertaining, but it's way more valuable than watching a vlog to get one little second of some information. I'd rather rant on day after day, giving y'all information, new information, and repetitive information to just drill into y'all's heads to help you guys focus on whatever it is that you need to focus on. And obviously, a lot of it's going to pertain to fitness and, you know, muscle gain, fat loss, and psychological health, and overall well-being, overall growth. Because, you know, that's what I'm doing in my own personal life, and that's the things that I want to convey. Knowledge is power, and I want y'all to have the power to be able to do whatever you want with your life. Thank you guys if you stuck around till the end. I highly, highly appreciate it, and I'll catch y'all in the next one.